We heard from Van Eck a little earlier this idea that if there wasn't a change in administration, that many of these future ETFs might not make it through the pipe. Do you agree with that?
Well, I do and I don't. I think the future ETFs beyond Ethereum really have to do with legislation being passed in the U.S. We've talked about this ad nauseum. I personally think whether it's the Dems or the Republicans, we're on the right track. Whether we get market structure legislation before the end of the year or whether we get it in a year, it's happening. The DC shift has happened. You can't unsee, tens of millions of voters, many of whom are single issue voters. And we're far enough from FTX, but close enough to an election for that shift to actually take hold. That will drive legislation, which will drive other ETFs beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum.
But does the DC shift still happen if President Biden is reelected?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I don't think you can unsee. I mean, really, investors have spoken. The Bitcoin ETF moment, the 15 billion of net flows, the 60 billion of AUM. There's no putting the genie back in the bottle. People want this. Retail wants this. Investors want this.
So let's talk about the future. We're looking to see if an Ethereum ETF finally gets approved. And we were asking about Solana as well. That seems to be the next big play. Do you agree that you'll see a Solana ETF from Galaxy or many others soon?
Look, we'll meet the market where it is. We'll be there if there's a Solana ETF. We have obviously a lot of exposure at Galaxy to Solana. We're the largest node validator in the entire Solana ecosystem. We know Solana well. I think less important than any single coin is the legislation, which really sets up rules that allow more than just Solana to become an ETF. Obviously, you need futures markets for Solana to be able to become an ETF. You have those for ETH. You don't yet have those for Solana.
If you could write that legislation, what would it say?
Well, there's different pieces of legislation. The first thing we need is just real clarity on what is a security and what is not a security. And we still don't have that. We're 7 years into Galaxy. We've wanted it for many of those years. The rest of it is nice to have, but that's the most important piece.
Explain why you think a futures market is so important for the success of a Solana ETF, because others don't agree.
Well, I think, look, if you go to the courts have been really important in all of this absent legislation, and the courts have been very clear that that is the test. And that's why we were so confident that an Ethereum ETF would happen. And that's, I think, why you're seeing an Ethereum ETF happen, because you do have that reference point for the underlying spot market.
Okay, what's the date that it happens?
For which?
For Ethereum.
I think Ethereum is weeks, not days.
But within July?
Within July. Yeah, look, we've done this before. This is methodical. This is window dressing. The SEC is engaged. Obviously, Invesco Galaxy has a filing. I can't speak to the specifics of it, but we've been doing this for months now. We did it with the Bitcoin ETF. The products are substantially similar. We know the plumbing. We know the process.